So everyone, Guild Wars fans, welcome to the best case scenario. That is pretty much the best way that I can put what I am about to tell all of you. Today we got some seriously big news about the future of the entirety of the Guild Wars franchise. And look, I'll tell you what, I definitely I was sweating a bit. I was thinking like, oh, Guild Wars 3, like, oh, this could go a little bit wrong. But let me tell you, ArenaNet have scaled into the late game. I don't think I've ever had as much of a pop-off response during my initial reaction to the studio update that was dropped in a video today. Okay, the chat was telling me to just be quiet. It was impossible. I couldn't do it. That's why I'm going to do a bit of a breakdown here for everyone who perhaps likes a calmer overview, you know, a little look into what's going on for the future. So let's kind of get into it. So let's do a bit of a TLDR here first. First things first, ArenaNet has been very clear that it is a full committal to supporting all three games. Like 2 is not to replace 1, 3 is not replacing 2. They're all gonna have their own strengths, their own game modes and things that they really try to do super well. And good, right? Like, you know, if they basically release the same game 3 times, it's a bit of a waste of time, isn't it? It's just no good. Like, they're all gonna have things that they do, different audiences, different styles of gameplay, different styles of content, which is great. And again, you're gonna need to do that to have this healthy ecosystem. And one thing that I think is really worth noting is that within this studio update video, they, you know, ArenaNet tacitly say, yeah, was a mistake to drop Guild Wars 1. Right? And I'll tell you what, like, this is going to come up a little bit later as well, but there was an epic statement about Guild Wars 2 from Grouch, Josh Davis, who is the game director for Guild Wars 2. The statement is that there's going to be content to come for 15 years and beyond for Guild Wars 2. That is quite the statement. So needless to say, we are not going anywhere. Welcome to the decade of Guild Wars, apparently. And we did get news from all 3 of the games. We can kind of go through these pretty quickly. Guild Wars 1, there was a little bit of intelligence here as well. And the most exciting news, like, is the really big point here. It was kind of a, oh, okay, oh, we did mobile. We're back developing the game. Like, we're so back. Like, 2 weeks is a Giga Chad studio, all things we know. But there was something that was actually rather fun. Specifically, they talked a little bit about adding content unlike anything else that's been added to the game so far. So adding new content in a different way. Now, I've got a couple of theories about this. Some people are saying like, oh, are they gonna add like some kind of raid content that's got like more complex boss mechanics in it? Like, is it gonna be some kind of expansion of some kind? And that's kind of where I'm actually leaning. I don't think it will be an expansion in the same way that we would expect. I think it might go a little bit more like a bonus mission pack. And the reason I think that, this is a bit conspiratorial, is that they did in the studio update show gameplay from the bonus packs, specifically the origin story of Gwen and the Sword Alessio story as well. And I was thinking, hold on a minute, right? We're adding new content to the game, and, you know, you're going to want to monetize it in some way. So I'm thinking that they might be adding some kind of bonus mission pack, bonus DLC, but maybe a bit more mesh to the world. Because obviously those bonus packs, they're kind of their own thing. They're kind of off in a little, you know, kind of like separated off mini pocket universe, right? I think it might go more connected to the world. It will unlock that content, right? Because here's a fun fact. Did you guys know that there was actually a scrapped Guild Wars Beyond, which was basically like a proto-living world, essentially? And there was a scrapped version of that for Nightfall, continuing some of the stories in Nightfall that never actually made it to the game. That will be pretty sick, right? You get a little DLC and you can actually explore what happened after the events of the Nightfall expansion in the same way what you saw with Winds of Change, kind of exploring what happened in factions, kind of leading up to some like very important events that connect to Guild Wars 2. And of course, all the stuff like War in Krita as well, with how like the Crichton monarchy developed after the story within Prophecies 2. So a lot of really exciting stuff there as well. But that's basically all it was for Guild Wars 1. It was relatively light, and that makes sense, by the way. Like, and that won't be for a while. It was very much like this is early days. And again, obviously they've only just started getting going on, getting a couple more devs. into the mix and starting to kind of really flesh out what the strategy and what the process is going to be for developing Guild Wars 1. Right, next up, and this is the big one. And again, there was a lot of concern regarding Guild Wars 2. Like, okay, Guild Wars 3 is coming out. What's going to happen? Is there an expansion? Is there not expansion? And I was thinking like, oh, okay, we're probably going to hear about Hall of Monuments, and is that kind of it for Guild Wars 2? Like, I was sweating a bit, okay? And you know what? I have never been happier to say that I was wrong on this. I have never been happier to say that ArenaNet has exceeded my wildest expectations on this, because we're not only getting the Hall of Monuments, we're getting a Season of the Dragon style Hall of Monuments that will proceed through the world, taking the player base on a victory lap of the game. But that's not all. It's also, while we're doing it, going to be revamping the entirety of the game. The first 2 chapters taking us through the core world, then going through all of the expansions, the entire process taking about a year, the same as Season of the Dragons. And as we go through, major reworks and polish will be applied to each area of the game, including adding a proper Zaitan boss fight. One of the biggest flops, to be honest, of the original core story and biggest requests was to have this back. And honestly, the sky is the limit there. It could be turned into a raiding counter as well. It's going to be amazing in the story for new players to experience that fight in a way that outside of just pressing the 2 key to fire a cannon. But we could be looking at rebalancing world events to make them more engaging, similar to what they did with the Jungle Worm, the Fire Elemental. We could be restoring Dragon Stand to the legendary event it was, rather than the, you know, kind of weak noodle that it is these days, right? Like, that's the potential here, because again, they are not going to be making an expansion for a while. And we'll talk a bit more about this later, but they are going back to developing expansions after the release of Guild Wars 3, basically. So again, make of that what you will. We'll speculate on the timing of how that's going to work in just a moment, but no expansion for a while, but a full polish pass, right? That's going to be bug fixes, making old content make a bit more sense, rebalancing, of course, balance updates, skills updates, all the usual festival stuff, and the Hall of Monuments experience, which is coming later this year, by the way. So probably after VOE, kind of towards winter, we are getting Hall of Monuments, and that's going to give us rewards in Guild Wars 2 and 3. And this is an important directive here, by the way. Hall of Monuments is not just going to give you rewards in 3. So in Guild Wars 1, and we should explain what Hall of Monuments is. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here. So what is Hall of Monuments? For those who don't know, Hall of Monuments is a system in Guild Wars 1 where you can complete content, achievements, goals, checklists, whatever, and you get titles, cosmetics, stuff in Guild Wars 2, right? That is going to be the same with Guild Wars 2 and 3, but they are iterating on it a little bit, okay? So you're actually going to get rewards in 2 and 3. So it's not like, oh, you know, I unlocked this cool skin that I have to wait 2 years to use in Guild Wars 3. No, you're going to get stuff in 2 as well for actually completing this content, which I think is a really nice improvement on that formula, and just an incredibly exciting thing to have in the game. I think that, like, it's crazy. I think the player count in Guild Wars 2 is going to see such a boom. We're already kind of seeing it if you look at the Steam numbers, by the way. The numbers are increasing. Guild Wars 2, I think, is going to have a really strong couple of years, despite not having an expansion. Because again, like, we won't get as much new content as we have been doing over the last couple of years with these expansions, but we are going to get refreshed content. And that in itself, it's not the same, but seriously, don't underestimate that. Dragon Stand, if that gets like significant repolishes and these meta events like Chat Garrett and Octovine get brought up to date a little bit with some more modern design, that is really exciting. And the same, of course, in all of the other maps throughout the entire game. We're doing the whole game here, guys, not just HOT, not just Path of Fire. All of it is getting a bit of a fresh lick of paint. Unbelievably exciting. And I think ultimately good for the game, right? Again, this is something that was talked about by Grouch, and Grouch did a great job presenting, same as Colin actually, and SCW as well on the Guild Wars 1 stuff. Very good communication, very assertive. And I kind of want to talk about this for a little bit here as well. Like, the thing that really struck me in this studio update was the sense of direction, the sense of conviction that I felt has been really lacking with ArenaNet, honestly, kind of since forever. Like, if you guys have watched my content, you'll know this, right? You know that I've been very critical, like, oh, you know, we've been flitting from this to that, like never finding our rhythm, never finding the formula that's going to carry the game forwards in a stable way. We've seen them, you know, do a really good effort trying to do that. I think under Grouch's leadership, we've definitely got the closest we've ever been to that. In Guild Wars 2 with the expansion form, you know, the new expansion model, the yearly expansion thing that's been going on. But now I really see the vision being communicated very efficiently and very confidently, right? And I love to see that. There was just such an air of certainty and assertiveness, like within this unit. It's like, yeah, we are supporting all of these games. We're taking this into the future. We're addressing these issues. And yeah, like, every part of the communication was communicating that they have a very strong idea of what they want Guild Wars 1, Guild Wars 2, and Guild Wars 3 to look like, which again is just so important in game design. And I think it's just been one of these things that has plagued Guild Wars for such a long time, especially Guild Wars 2. So seeing that potentially change is just amazing. I love to see that. Like I said, we are living in the best case scenario here. And by the way, we're not even close to be done talking about Guild Wars 2, by the way, just so we're aware of this, because guess what? We're also getting a new World versus World map added to the game. So World versus World is finally gonna have 4 maps, right? Like EB, Desert, Alpine, and we're going to have this new Borderland as well. So you're always going to have a different map rotating around. There's no more duplicates in World versus World. It's going to be developed just like Push was, right? So it's actually coming this year. There's going to be, you know, a gray box, you know, really scuffed, just like the basic map layout with objectives on it, coming later this year. And of course, that will be developed in tandem with the community, again, over the course of this, you know, coming year, after Visions of Eternity has ended up concluding at some point there as well, which again, really exciting for World versus World players, especially because World versus World is getting to that point where it has all of its systems in place, competitive infrastructure that rewards you, right, for participating, and systems and reward structures that encourage you to actively participate as opposed to just AFK or simply not care about the objectives whatsoever. So World versus World getting a lot of love there as well. Another thing that they talked about, and I think this is actually super exciting. It sounds, you know, a bit nerdy, right? But they're also actively taking measures to address their dev pipeline, right? Because, you know, we've always heard this, the engine, it's too difficult. We can't make stuff. And I'll tell you what, there's going to be some credit. There's going to be some truth to that. Look at Guild Wars 1. They've got a very small team, and they've already churned out 2 dungeons, ported to mobile, ported to, you know, got Steam Deck support working, like added hardcore mode, added solo self-found mode, right, etc., etc. Like, they are super snappy with their efficiency with a very small team. So yeah, there clearly is tech debt with Guild Wars 2. Very clearly, they have problems developing content. It's hard for them to make the game. That much is obvious. And it looks like they're taking this breather. Because again, when you're developing expansions, right? Like you're constantly churning, right? Next expansion, next expansion, next expansion. You don't have time. You simply don't have time to say, okay, we're gonna breathe and fix some of this tech debt. They haven't had that opportunity. But now that Guild Wars 3 is here, and that's gonna be another massive flagship product, and of course, Guild Wars 1 is also out of maintenance mode, starting to build up a player base. All of a sudden, Guild Wars 2 actually has a little bit of room to relax a little bit and look at some of these long-term issues that it's been struggling with. It can take a break and be supported by 1 and 3, as opposed to the reverse, right? Which has been the case essentially up until now. which I think is really exciting. And of course, when they address these dev pipeline issues, that means they can develop content quicker. They can develop content at a higher quality. They can probably have better quality assurance to make sure that there aren't bugs and all that kind of stuff as well. So again, a really, really big one there as well. And that's not all. Okay, you might be thinking, wow, no new maps for all, no new content. You would be wrong, because in celebration of the fact that Guild Wars 3 is, of course, going to be taking place in the far past, before Guild Wars 1, even 1,000 years, in the distant mists. There's a new core map coming to Ore. It will be accessible in the free-to-play experience. It's exactly just being added straight plonked into the core game. And there'll be a brand new endgame map to play with the free-to-play experience, or indeed for anyone who is playing Guild Wars 2. Super exciting. And again, I'm really hoping that we have kind of a more modern design, right? We're going to be going through refreshing some of this old content. I really cannot wait to see a proper endgame map with modern Guild Wars 2 design sensibilities, in terms of having like a big epic boss, jumping puzzles, exploration features. I mean, it is going to be an absolute treat. Let me tell you, it really, really is. And that is what's going on with Guild Wars 1 and Guild Wars 2. There isn't going to be an expansion until after Guild Wars 3. And in the video itself, it was a little, vague. They didn't use the word expansion. They said we're going to go back to major releases after Guild Wars 3, after we're done with the Hall of Monuments, all that kind of good stuff. However, it is worth noting that this was actually clarified. Grouch, again, game director for Guild Wars 2, did clarify this a little bit in the official Guild Wars Discord. And the language used there was very much, yeah, we've paused our expansion development right now, and until after Guild Wars 3. And the implication there is that, oh yeah, we're going back to it. Like, so in other words, and I have to say, I'm very impressed by this. It looks like they're going to be going back to a very similar approach to what we have now after we're done with this pause patch, after we're done with cleaning up all the tech debt, or hopefully some of the tech debt, right? And then after Guild Wars 3 is out, we're basically back to this format. So we do have some downtime here. It's not going to feel that way, but ultimately that is the case. We're going to be skipping an X-Pack cycle essentially. But after 3 is out, we could be going back to Guild Wars 2 expansions as early as 2028. Because again, like the guesstimation here, Guild Wars 3 beta is coming out in the fall of 2027. That's probably saying we're looking at an early mid 2028 release for Guild Wars 3 itself. And then again, afterwards, that's when you're going to start to see Guild Wars 2 rather, start to heat up again. And there was also a couple of insights. It takes about 18 months apparently to develop a Guild Wars 2 expansion. So again, they'll probably be starting to think about that and like have a team like figuring it out like in the background during this. Because again, they had, Guild Wars 3 cooking in the background. I think they can do a Guild Wars 2 expansion. And realistically, we could be seeing a Guild Wars 2 expansion in 2028, like probably in the later stages of 2028 after Guild Wars 3 has had a bit of room to breathe, a bit of room to kind of settle itself and make its big explosive entrance, revitalizing the MMO scene as has been promised. Look, those are fighting words, guys. You better deliver on that. But that is what things are looking like for the future of the Guild Wars franchise. Couple of other little notes as well. Bit of housekeeping here. At the end, there was a bit of a sneaky little message from Colin. He's a cheeky chappy, he absolutely is. And this might have just been a bit of a wording coincidence, but I don't think it was. So he was talking about how kind of like the schedule for communication, right, with Guild Wars 3. And he said, next up is going to be a post, kind of some communication about the when and the where of Guild Wars 3. And then the following, it was like, comma, then on Tuesday, we have a Q&A. So the implication there is that we are actually going to get information about the setting of Guild Wars 3 very early, right? Very, very early, very soon, rather. Okay, but look, give me a break, guys, okay? I feel like I was speaking pretty fluently. I just folded a little bit, I admit that. bit of a fumble at the end of this video, but forgive me, I'm on 3 hours sleep right now, okay? We're just barely holding it together with the energy. Anyway, as I was saying, I think we're gonna hear some info very, very soon about the when and the where of Guild Wars 3, maybe even, again, kind of on Monday, potentially. Like, today is Saturday, might hear about it on Monday, and we're gonna have this Q&A, where there's gonna be a live stream where Grouch and Colin are going to be doing a bit of a Q&A, probably a bit of commentary, addressing some common questions, maybe interacting, seeing some questions from the chat, right? Or just questions that they've seen on the forums, addressing more questions and just talking about what's coming up generally. I've got to say, it's weird. I don't have that many questions. This was such a comprehensive and effective communication of their vision for the game. I'm just waiting until it unfolds. Give me the release dates and I am logging in. I am so unbelievably impressed by what ArenaNet has done here. Like, this is incredibly ambitious. I really hope they pull it off. I'm confident, don't get me wrong, but they have set themselves a serious high bar to pass over. If they can pull this off, it is going to be legendary, let me tell you that. And it's going to be an incredible year, not only for them as a studio, but also for us as the players. This is the best case scenario. This is above and beyond what I was expecting coming into this announcement and going into the, the next couple of years. I was expecting some downtime. I thought, okay, we're chilling. We're just going to do little Hall of Monuments, and then we just wait for Guild Wars 3. We're going to be gaming, okay? There is going to be gaming going on. The only game mode here that didn't get mentioned is PvP, and people did call this out, and look, here's the thing. I would love to see a new map for PvP. I do think PvP is, regrettably, and very sadly, more of a niche game mode in Guild Wars 2 than it has been even historically, which does feel bad. But I would say, in ArenaNet's defense, PvP is actually pretty feature complete, right? You've got automated tournaments, you've got the variety tournaments with 3v3 and 2v2 and push, Tournament of Legends is in the game, right? You could add a new map, right? You could change the rewards, and those would all be good, but you're getting balance updates to shift the metagame, right? PvP is kind of finished in a way. I wouldn't really want them to add more features. Like, to be honest, and I think this will be a fairly popular opinion, in my opinion, the best thing ArenaNet could do for PvP is actually have a couple of devs or customer support agents really look at dealing with bad behavior. There's a lot of concern regarding toxicity, win trading, and other forms of kind of nefarious manipulation of the game. And I think, funnily enough, the difficulty in handling that over the years has been one of the major causes of PvP struggling. Like, when people think that there are basically, people who are cheating and behaving really poorly, not getting punished or not being dealt with, people quit, right? Because you go, oh, what's the point? I'm not engaged, right, at that point. And I think that's fair. I think I don't blame people for feeling that way. Even though PvP is fun, PvP is great, right? I don't blame people for feeling that way. So if ArenaNet could do anything for PvP, I would really like to see them take a strong, proactive stance on moderation. And I'll tell you what, that will be a good warm-up for 3, because they're going to have a big old community and they're going to need to be able to handle that, right, in terms of moderation. Because look, regrettably, even though most people are indeed lovely, not everyone is, and you need to be able to handle that, and it is something that I think historically ArenaNet has struggled with, especially in the PvP context. So that's what I'd like to see for PvP. New map would always be a lot of fun as well. Not sure what happened with push. Bit of a weird one there, to be honest. I don't know what their end game was there. I guess just put it in the variety tournament pack, but I don't know. It is what it is, guys. It is what it is. But anyway, that is the preview of what's going on in the near future and some insight into the minds of the studio leads who are going to be leading us into the next 15 years of Guild Wars. And yeah, I think I want to close this out just by reiterating that I was just really impressed by the vision. Like it really struck me. It really struck me. And we saw this with Colin's presentation actually on Summer Games Fest. I was just so impressed. It was so confident, so full of energy, right? And conviction on how to approach the game, like what the game is. You know, it's time for a new era in MMOs. It's time for a new game. And that game is Guild Wars 3. That is the type of language that I want to hear, right? I don't want to hear, you know, oh, you know, Guild Wars 2, you know, we're doing what we can. I want to hear, yeah, we're here to make a splash. We're here to aim big. We're shooting for the stars. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm really happy to hear that that is what we're getting across all 3 games. It is blowing my mind to think that within a couple of years, we could be seeing something akin to a Guild Wars 1 expansion, and a Guild Wars 2 expansion, and a Guild Wars 3 release and or expansion down the line, all releasing within the same year. That is crazy. Like, we've talked about how ArenaNet have had a rough time and how Guild Wars 2 has had a really storied journey through its development cycle. But I'll tell you what, that would be one hell of a redemption arc, okay? We've been up, we've been down, but if ArenaNet could make this work, and after, you know, 20 years pretty much of gaming, 20 years of game dev, we actually could have like a new era, a new peak, that would be frankly unbelievably remarkable and an incredible feat, an accomplishment of game development. And look, I'm coming on, you know, we're doing a lot of glazing here, okay? But I just really do want to emphasize to all of you how impressed I was with this. This to me was, to be honest, almost more impactful than the Guild Wars 3 announcement. I'm actually serious, by the way. Like, this was almost more significant than that because just the context, like how much I've, you know, again, I've always been a bit critical of ArenaNet not quite having that conviction, not having that confidence, not having that vision. And to see it just displayed over the last 2 days with such clarity it's been remarkable, actually. It's been absolutely remarkable. And don't get me wrong, I'm incredibly excited for Guild Wars 3. I can't wait to get my hands on the game, and when they show us off some gameplay, you know, then that's when things are really gonna get exciting. But I just really wanna say very, very well done to ArenaNet for this communication. Very well done for incredible presentations from Grouch, Colin, and of course, SCW as well. Like super, super impressive. And I think I'll just kind of wrap things up there. Like, that'll do it, okay? This live stream, you guys didn't realize you're in a YouTube video, but guess what? You were in a YouTube video the entire time. Shout out to YouTube. And of course, I hope you enjoyed this video over here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you're as excited as I am for the future of Guild Wars 2. Doomers have been utterly destroyed. Doomer stocks are having a financial crash. They're gonna need to be bailed out, guys, okay, by the Doomer government. Otherwise, they will be destitute and left with nothing after this. Get ready for 15 years of Guild Wars. Welcome to the decade of Guild Wars 2. At long last, the year of Guild Wars might finally be arriving. But yeah, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave your comments. Do you think I'm completely coping out of my mind? Do you agree with me? Did you guys enjoy the studio update? If you want to check it out, it will be linked in the description. Obviously, by the way, definitely go ahead and check that out. It's really worth a watch. And of course, stay tuned for more. I'm going to be covering everything Guild Wars 2. There might even be like a Guild Wars 3 daily show hosted by me, Darren's, and maybe some other people, like over the coming months and years as we warm up to getting into the actual launch and beta recons, of course, of Guild Wars 3. So stay tuned for all of that. Be sure to subscribe, like, leave comments, buy all of the games using my referral link. Yes, this is all a ploy for you guys to use my link, okay? That's my end game here, okay? It's my retirement plan. Click the link. Buy Guild Wars 1 and 2. You know you want to, but yeah, that's it. Follow me on all social media, join Discord, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, watch the live streams, watch every other video, and get ready for a whole lot more. I will see you guys for all of the upcoming news with the setting of Guild Wars 3, and of course, the Q&A on Tuesday as well. That's it for now. I'll see you gamers then. Thanks for watching, and I'm gonna go ahead and dissolve into a puddle of sleep-deprived slime.